In this video, I'll be working to restore the headlight control shaft on a Porsche 944. So here at the front of the engine compartment is the headlight control shaft, also commonly referred to as a linkage bar or lifting rod. It's connected to a motor assembly on the passenger side, and the motor turns the bar through this linkage and these hinges, which raises and lowers the pop-up headlights. The headlights have a 3-point adjustment system, so there's 2 triangles underneath here with 3 bolts in them that will adjust up and down movement for either side, and then this bracket can be slid forward and back. And the headlight assembly and the linkage bar itself kind of come out as one unit, and I'd like to avoid doing that because the headlights are flush and they're well adjusted how I'd like them, and I'd rather not take the time to pull everything out and disconnect the wires if I don't have to. So what I'd like to do is remove just the bar itself. There's some C-clips on this support bracket and on these hinges that can be popped off, and there's a couple ball joints with a plastic bearing in there, and I'd like to pop that out here, release this so we can move that towards the driver's side, and then come over here, unbolt the motor connection, and then pop this hinge off as well and take out just the bar. Have it media blasted and zinc coated. You can tell that it's pretty heavily oxidized and discolored from age, and so I'd like to add that to a list of things that I'm getting recoated. If we can get that disconnected. The bearings are plastic, so I don't want them to crack or crumble, so what I'll do is spray these down with some silicone spray and see if I can just get even pressure to pop that off. If I break it, the headlight bar is a $300 part to replace as a new one, but I figure it's worth the risk to see if we can, because it is a little unsightly here and it would be nice to have a nice shiny one in there. And doing the restoration will be cheaper than getting the new part. For tools, I'm going to use some needle nose pliers and flathead screwdrivers to pop the C-clips off. They do have the tendency to go flying, so I'm going to do my best to catch those and not to lose them. There are 10mm bolts on the support bracket, 2 of those, and then 1 13mm nut on the shaft for the drive assembly. And here's the control shaft removed from the vehicle. No real issues with the bearings. I guess they were still soft enough. Just popped right off. So we'll get this down for media blasting and zinc plating, and then we'll put it back on. Here's a look at all the parts going in for restoration. And here they are after glass bead blasting, all cleaned up. And finally, after the zinc plating process, everything turned out really nice. The headlight control shaft turned out amazing. Some great color to it. And should look real nice when it goes back on the car. Reinstallation of the control shaft should be pretty easy because we didn't modify the adjustment of the bucket alignments. Everything's still in the same place. So what I'll do first is reattach the mounting bracket so that the bar will rest at the proper height on this end. And then down here, pop on the ball joint and slip it onto the drive shaft. There are some tiny splines, some little teeth on the shaft, but there aren't any set grooves on this hinge, so it's more just for bite so that it doesn't slip when it's rotating the shaft. And get everything popped back in and bolted down, and it should line up how it was when it was removed. Once everything's tightened down and clipped in, you can adjust the headlight resting position by turning the dial on the top of the motor assembly and check headlight operation. I think this restoration project turned out pretty well. All in, I paid $160 for the media blasting and $100 for the zinc plating process. So it came in $40 less than what it would cost to purchase a new headlight control shaft, and I got another $2,000 worth of parts restored during the process. But depending on your budget and the goals for your car, you don't necessarily need to go that route. You could just as easily pop the bar off, wire wheel it, sand it down, and spray paint it a color of your choosing for under $10. So a number of different ways you can go about it, but if you decide to do it, hopefully you have an idea of how to get it done.